Yes guys, welcome back to more GBFC. Today, I'm going to tell you why I believe Jacob Murphy is the most underappreciated player in the Premier League. Now, I'm a Chelsea fan, so it wouldn't be fair to make a statement like this without entrusting the opinion of a Newcastle fan, a Geordie. So, I've got my friend Jack Ainsley to help me with this video today to let us learn a little bit about Jacob Murphy and how right now this guy is one of the most informed players in the whole of England, and he's firing, not just with his assists, but with goals as well. Newcastle United, after their first trophy, he might be firing them to the Champions League as well. So, let's find out a little bit more.
Harry George, I'm coming at you from South India here in Goa to talk about Jacob Murphy, because I will snap anybody's hand off to have the chance to talk about Jacob Murphy. Now, this is a lad that we signed in 2017. Rafa Benitez brought him in from Norwich, where he'd somehow managed to spend 4 years out on loan to 6 different clubs.
I think it's important to talk about the psychology behind how we see football players, because certain players you just assume are big name players, and there are other players that probably don't get the same level of media attention. They don't get the same kind of opposition fans might not actually be like, oh, that's a big name player, so we talk about him. With Jacob Murphy, the fact that at the start of his career, if we take it back 10 years plus now, he's 30 years old now, but for a player to be on loan at Swindon, Southend, Blackpool, Colchester, Scunthorpe, these kind of clubs, I think it's quite easy for certain players quite early within their careers to get bracketed as not a big name player.
Then Rafa Benitez left, he went off to China, and we amazingly brought in the legendary Steve Bruce, who set us up in a 5-back in almost every game, even if it was against a local pub team. And Jacob Murphy was more often than not playing in a sort of right wing back position on the right side of that back three.
So I think this is a really good place to start when it comes to Jacob Murphy, because the easiest thing that people might do when analysing him is take a look at the top head numbers. 17 goal contributions this season shows you that we're talking about an aggressive player, an attacking player, a clinical player as well. But if we take it back here and take a little look at these early stats when he first started to establish himself at Newcastle, you can see, right, we're talking League One, Championship, Premier League, not really playing. Then he gets the West Brom and Sheffield Wednesday moves. But these 2 seasons here, 2020-21, for Newcastle United, finishing 12th and 11th. Look at these here when it comes to the defensive third tackles. These 2 seasons in particular, Jacob Murphy is having to do a lot more defensive work, which leads us now to think about the evolution of the player, to think about how, slowly but surely, Jacob Murphy has kind of been waiting for the moment to really be seen as that guy. And when you're playing as, and you think you're a midfielder, you think you're a winger, right? But you're having to do all of this work when it comes to tackles. And look, the percentages are really good as well. 63.4% tackles. We're talking here about a player that hasn't just lost that ability. And that is what I really like when I watch Jacob Murphy play. Yes, we can always talk about that goal that he scored against Palace last night. We'll get to that in a moment. It's the all-round game. So often these days, we're looking at wingers and thinking, well, can they do the defensive work? And this man absolutely can.
When the takeover came through, everybody would have had Jacob Murphy first on the list as the players that would be shipping off to the Championship, to whatever. You know, not technically brilliant. I wouldn't say he had the best football brain, or at least that's how it appeared anyway.
This is where I need to hold up my hands and say that exactly what Jack said here, as an on-looking football fan, when Newcastle had that takeover, I think we all thought it, right? We forgot about the PSR. We're like, Saudi Arabia money, they're going to spend tons of it. Newcastle are going to win the Premier League. And I'll be honest, Jacob Murphy was one of those players that even me as an outsider, right? I looked in and I thought, this guy is a Championship level player. He was at Newcastle. Then he had 2 Championship loans. Now they're going to go sign a load of world-class players, and Jacob Murphy's going to be the man to miss out. That didn't happen. He stayed.
Let's fast forward. What we have is a player who has got 19 goal contributions this far in the Premier League, 22 goal contributions in 34 games in all competitions, including the League Cup, which we won. Just a big game player.
And that is a perfect time to segue into talking about what actually made me want to make this video in the first place, because Jacob Murphy's performance against Crystal Palace was absolutely exceptional. When Jack mentions being a big game player, this is a big game for Newcastle. Crystal Palace at home. Palace, despite that defeat to Man City, you guys who watch the channel know, Palace have been in really good form. Newcastle need to win every game now if they want to finish in the Champions League next season and make this a dream of a season. Champions League football would make this an unreal season. And guess who showed up and scored a quite magnificent goal? Jacob Murphy, of course. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, he didn't really mean it. If you actually take a look at his body language when he goes to and actually goes through this action and motion, he takes a little look across the box, sees that there's no one in there, beats the defender, and then takes one look up directly at the goal, and he absolutely hammers it. It's not the first time this season we've seen a goal like this from a Newcastle player. Sandro Tonali as well. They've won 5 matches in a row. Since they won that cup, Newcastle's form has been amazing, and that is what winning the trophy can do. People belittle the Carabao Cup, but it's about momentum. It's about having 300,000 Geordies on the streets in Newcastle. It might have even been more than that, to be honest. And having something to celebrate, something to aim for now, where it's like, you get that taste, you want a little bit more. And last night against Crystal Palace wasn't just a stunning goal that he scored, but he also gets a brilliant assist as well from a beautiful dead ball situation. And he could have had even more if Alexander Isak remembered that he's a world-class striker. Yes, Isak scored, I know that, but I think Murphy could have had at least a hat-trick of assists last night.
Murphy having Isak to get on the end of them balls, but it's his defensive work, the way he doubles up with Trippier. He's got such an intelligent football brain. His arc, his career arc from being a journeyman, 6 loan clubs in 4 years, comes to Newcastle, doesn't really do very well. Another 2 loans out, comes back, sits in the dregs of the squad to come to this point now where he's arguably in the top 3 or whatever right wingers as far as output goes in the Premier League this season.
And the stats really don't lie, do they? That is a £35,000 a week player at Newcastle United, scoring 8, assisting 11, outperforming his XG, outperforming his expected assist, 67 shot creating actions this season in 29 games. We are talking about a player that absolutely, regardless of what happened early on in his career, regardless of filling in at wing back, whatever, he still does that defensive work so well, linking up with Trippier on that right-hand side. But these stats and numbers from Murphy this season have been absolutely incredible. And if we take a look here, when we're talking about the top percentile, number 1 statistics is that assist, top 1%, expected assisted goals as well, he's up there. But you can see all of that work, and we're going to credit Steve Bruce for this, are we? No, surely we're not. We're not going to do that. But look, the defensive work too, the blocks, the clearances, non-penalty goals as well. These aren't stats that are inflated because he bags penalties for Newcastle. He doesn't even take them. So this is quite remarkable that we are talking about a player already with nearly 20 goal contributions this season. And look, we've said it throughout this video, underappreciated. Jack's saying it here as a Newcastle fan. He is waxing lyrical about the man, and I feel as though he deserves it, which is why I wanted to make this bloody video.
I really do think he's an absolute unsung hero, because he's also not some, wonder kid from far away. He's a lad from Birtley, man. He's come in to be one of the best outputting right wingers in the league. And it's like, what do we do in the summer? What do we do? It's like, well, we have to upgrade on him. It's Jacob Murphy. You know, that bias. Well, we have to. It's Jacob Murphy. It's only Jacob Murphy. We've got to upgrade on him if we want to play Champions League football. And while I agree you should never buy a weaker player than the one you've got, I don't think any player that we sign in the summer just walk into Murphy's boots. Absolutely no way. He's going to have to really, really fight to get in the team ahead of Jacob Murphy.
And I can already envisage some of the comments. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you haven't commented this. I hope you haven't commented this. People might say, well, he's got a world-class striker in front of him. Alexander Isak is one of the best in the world. So no wonder he's flipping got himself 11 assists this season. I tell you what, this is exactly why I wanted to make this, because sometimes, because someone like Jacob Murphy won't receive the same attention as someone like Alexander Isak, what is Jacob Murphy actually worth in the market? Will Newcastle sign another player? Jack said it here. Whoever actually comes in is going to have to be a seriously good footballer to displace someone who is contributing, after 29 matches, 20 goals in the Premier League this season. So this is is brilliant for Newcastle, right? It's a problem for everyone else fighting for the same positions around them, like Chelsea. I am dreading going to St James's Park. I think it is the most difficult match and fixture that Chelsea have got left this season. But in terms of what the future holds for Jacob Murphy, Newcastle fans, let me know in the comments. Do you think that it is just an inflation of these numbers because he's got Isak ahead of him, and if Isak leaves, will those numbers decline? They might do. Or is this the guy that you absolutely just build something around him because he's just delivering such great numbers?
That's Jacob Murphy, an absolute unsung hero of Newcastle United. Up the Bertley, up the Ashy, up the Newcastle United. How are the lads?
So a big thank you and a shout out to Jack. His channel is linked in the description down below, for helping me out with this video, because I wanted to speak to a Newcastle fan, because I look in and I see those numbers and I'm like, this is a serious player. I don't see him being talked about enough. Apparently, Newcastle fans can see it too. Should he get an England call-up? Thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smack a like if you did. I'll see you all tomorrow.